Here's something most men never learn, and it costs them attraction, intimacy, and long term passion. Women don't lose sexual desire because relationships get old. They lose desire because psychological safety disappears while emotional tension disappears with it. And when that happens, the bedroom doesn't die suddenly, it slowly goes quiet. Tonight, we're talking about what women actually want sexually, not from movies, not from porn, and definitely not from Reddit threads written by men who haven't seen a naked woman since the Obama administration. We're talking neuroscience. We're talking attachment, desire, polarity, and emotional safety, baby. That's right, women. That's right, guys. We're talking ethical masculinity and imminent femininity in the bedroom. And yeah, I'm going to give you practical scripts and tools you can actually use. Listen, fellas, most of you are walking around like a microwave. Press one button and you're 100% power in 30 seconds. But if you want to understand women, you have to realize they are a high end wood fired oven, baby. They take time to preheat. Come on. And if the chimney is blocked, you're just going to get a house full of smoke and no dinner. No dinner, baby. You know what kind of dinner I'm talking about, boys. We need our food. Sexual health researcher Emily Nagoski, she laid this out brilliantly. Male arousal is typically spontaneous. You see a curve, you're ready to go, baby. We are. But female arousal, come on now, it's typically responsive, right? This means desire isn't the starting line for her. It's the finish line of a marathon built on safety, connection, and the right kind of stimulation, baby. Her brain operates on the dual control model, which consists of a sexual accelerator and a sexual brake, my dudes. Look, the accelerator is the fun stuff, right? The flirtation, right? The smell of your cologne. So, boys, get some cologne and put it on. You know, the dominant way that you grabbed her waist in the kitchen. That's all foreplay, baby. But the break, right? The break is what kills the mood. And it is incredibly sensitive in females. We're talking about stress, right? The mental load of who's picking up the kids, resentment over that argument you had at lunch, the pressure of feeling like she owes you sex because it's a Friday night, date night. Yeah, that ain't fun. Look, most men spend their lives slamming the accelerator while their foot is still buried on the brake. Then they wonder, hmm, why is the engine smoking? Well, you can't outgame a foot on the brake. You have to remove the pressure first, my guys. Come on now. Simple stuff. And to understand why, we have to look at the neurobiology of her internal security team, the limbic system, right? That's bouncer number one, right? It handles the raw emotions. But a special little guy in the limbic system, the amygdala, is the threat detector. And that's always on the lookout for a reason to say, hell no. If her amygdala senses even a hint of threat, a hint of social pressure, the prefrontal cortex, her other little bouncer, right? This is her CEO, the CEO of the brain. It decides that sex is a low priority compared to survival, my guys. However, when an ethically masculine man creates an environment where cortisol, that stress hormone, it drops, baby. The oxytocin the bonding system, right? And the dopamine reward system, well, they're going to take over. That's what happens with an EM man. This shift isn't a choice she makes, guys. It's a biological transition into a state of sexual receptivity. When she feels safe, her brain stops scanning for exits and it starts scanning for you. That is the EM difference, boys. Ethical masculinity isn't about being a nice guy. Hell no! We don't ask for permission to breathe. It's about being the safe storm. It's nuanced. It's that psychological architecture that allows her to stop being a manager. She doesn't want to manage you, little boys. She wants to start being a woman with a man who understands women. In the bedroom, EM is the absolute opposite of that performance anxiety, the entitlement that the red pillars all scream about. It's about presence. If you're in your head worrying about how you look or how long you're going to last, you're not with her, right? And she can feel that vacancy from a mile away. Presence is the ultimate aphrodisiac because it tells her nervous system that you are the anchor that she can tie her ship to whenever the waves get rough. An EM man masters 4 specific pillars in the heat of the moment. Why? Because he already has them mastered. He already has them mastered. First, he reads emotional cues with surgical precision, right? Noticing the slight tensing of a shoulder or the change in breath that tells him to slow down or pivot. Second, he leads without any force, without any coercion, right? This means he sets the direction, right? He sets the direction of the sexual encounter. But the pace remains completely unattached to the ego hit of a no, right? Third, he regulates himself, staying calm and grounded even when things get really intense, and they will, right? Because this prevents her from catching your anxiety like a freaking cold. And finally, he creates safety without killing desire and polarity. This is the secret sauce, guys. This is what separates ethically masculine men from all the other dorks. We're safe enough for her to trust, but masculine enough to keep the tension high, keep the excitement high. Safety doesn't reduce attraction. It's the very thing that allows her to surrender, guys. When a woman knows that you have the frame to handle her, right? Emotionally, physically, energetically, right? She can finally let go of the brake system. This is where the eminently feminine woman reveals herself. It isn't something you can force out of her with a move you learned on a forum. It is a gift that she gives you when she realizes she doesn't have to protect herself from you or for you. In that space of total trust, her desire, it doesn't just happen, right? At this point, right, it explodes because, guys, you finally cleared the chimney and the fire can breathe. Clear the chimney. It's all about safety without losing your masculine energy. You keep the polarity high, safety on one hand, excitement on the other. And this gets right into foreplay, right? It's mostly psychological, guys. Fellas, if you think foreplay starts when the pants come off, you've already lost the game. You are a little boy. You're playing checkers and she's playing 4D chess with her own neurotransmitters. Research in relationship psychology, guys, it is freaking crystal clear, right? This isn't some whamsy-pamsy TikTok advice. TikTok sucks, by the way. Emotional connection predicts sexual satisfaction way more than any fancy technique you picked up from that late night forum. Foreplay isn't a 15-minute warm up, it's a 15-hour psychological environment you build throughout the day, my dudes. It's about priming the pump, not just getting your pump on. I mean, psychological foreplay is built on the pillars of anticipation and attention. It's that text, right, at 2 p.m. that isn't a logistics check, but a subtle reminder of how her dress looked in the morning before she went to work. It's playfulness. It's humor. I mean, these are the ultimate nervous system regulators, guys. When you make her laugh, right, her cortisol, it drops off the charts. Her defenses soften. You're essentially telling her amygdala, hey, the tiger isn't going to eat you. He's just here to have a good time, baby. And I'm the tiger. Let's eat. You also need to master non-sexual touch and eye contact, my dudes. And this is an undersold point on all these other sites, right? If the only time you touch her is when you want something, she becomes touch averse. It isn't a transaction, my dudes. But if you give her a grounding 5-second squeeze on the shoulder while she's making coffee, you're providing emotional validation with no pressure, no performance, right? It's not a performative action. You're doing it because you're into her, man. This regulates her nervous system. Those little gestures, they build a reservoir of safety, guys. Sexual desire in a woman is often a lagging indicator of emotional attunement. Period. You don't get to the main event by rushing to the flipping gate. You get there by making the gate irrelevant because she already invited you into her hours ago. You know what I mean? But we also need to tackle the death of the spark, right? Like it dies, and especially in long-term relationships. And this is where Esther Perel's research on the erotic paradox comes into play. Humans have basically two conflicting needs, right? We've got this thing called the need for security, and you know, this is all sort of built through your attachment, you know, feeling safe when you were a child, you know, someone knowing that you're going to be there when you say. But it also has the need for mystery, right? Novelty, risk, you know, the unknown, right? That polarity. And the problem is that many men become so domesticated, right? That they kill the mystery, right? So they can keep the security. And I've talked about this on other episodes, right? About, you know, compatibility and chemistry. You become the comfortable couch guy, right? Reliable, but nobody is getting excited about sitting on you for the 10,000th time. An EM man, an ethically masculine man, he understands that predictability kills the anxiety and the tension. But it doesn't have to kill the polarity. Boredom is the real silent killer. You maintain attraction by having a personal mission. You need to be grounded in your autonomy. If your entire world revolves around her, you become a satellite. And satellites aren't sexy. Guys, they're just predictable. You need to remain a bit of a wild frontier. You have got to keep that bad boy edge, which is really just a good guy with ethical masculinity as his grounding point. This means having your own hobbies, man. Come on, your own brothers to hang out with, your own goals that have absolutely nothing to do with her. Nothing. She will thank you for it. She doesn't want to be your mission in life. She wants to be a part of it. You also maintain the spark through leadership and shared experiences, right? And playfulness. And playfulness, guys. This is my favorite part of the whole dating scene, man. The play. It's it's the fun stuff, man. Come on, you go on a date and you're goofing off and you're touching and you're giving her a little crap about something. That's fun. That gets her excited. It builds tension, polarity. So, guys, you don't ask her, where do you want to eat? Boring. Like, guys, she's heard this for the 9th year in a row at this point, right? I mean, you're in a relationship. Guys, stop being the guy that just gets comfortable. You need to lead. You need to take her somewhere new. Surprise her ass. Surprise her nervous system, not just her ass. And when you show emotional stability, I mean, you're providing the floor of security, right? But when you show leadership and autonomy, you provide the ceiling of desire. My guys, you want to be the man she can count on to pay the mortgage, but also the man she's a little bit nervous to lose. That tension, that gap between knowing her and wanting to rediscover her is where long-term desire lives. And I get it, guys. If you see her on the couch for the 30th night in a row, wearing her sweatpants and that t-shirt and, scrolling through Facebook or playing Candy Crush, it's hard, guys. I know it's hard to want to rediscover her, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's your fault for letting her get in that spot in the first place because she lost her attraction. She lost the edge because you fell into comfort. Guys, long-term desire lives in the spark, right? Don't be the domesticated house cat. Be the panther that decided to stay because it liked what it had hunted. I mean, get back to that moment where you saw her for the first time and it was like a truck had hit you and the butterflies were flying all over the place because you freaking fell in love with this chica. Go back to that spot, baby. Come on. Guys, now we're getting in the deep end of the pool, right? How do you actually introduce new experiences into the bedroom without making it feel like a weird job interview or a high stakes audition? I mean, look, novelty is the biological equivalent of throwing gasoline on a dying fire. It is, baby. According to Aaron's self-expansion model, introducing new and exciting activities into a relationship doesn't just spice things up, it actually expands self-concept of both partners, causing a massive spike in dopamine. We're doing things we've never done before. That's hot. Am I different than I thought I was? That's hot. There is a catch, though. Novelty does require a security clearance. I mean, look, the nervous system has to know it's safe. You can't just explore the dark corners of the map if you're worried the ground is going to fall out from under you. And again, this is where EM, ethical masculinity, acts as a sexual OSHA inspector. Look, you ensure the environment is safe so she can finally take the hard hat off and play, baby. And you want that hard hat off. Shoot, you want everything off. But slowly. I mean, behavioral psychology research, particularly around sexual curiosity, it shows that curiosity it's a far greater predictor of intimacy than any performance expectations. Curiosity is the freaking glue, baby. If you approach her with the energy of, I want you or I want to do something specific, this specific thing to me or to you, you're creating performance pressure. And this hits the sexual break we talked about earlier. The eminently feminine woman, any woman for that matter, if there's pressure, she ain't going to want to get into bed, guys. She is not going to want to stay in bed. She's going to want to roll over and go to sleep. So instead, the EM man leads with a script centered on collaborative exploration. You might say something like, look, I want us to have a fun, open space where we can talk about what we're curious about without any judgment. I mean, I love our connection, and I'm excited to see what else we can discover together. This removes the shame, right? And the most success failure metric, we're replacing it with a shared mission of discovery, right? Or rediscovery in some cases. You're not asking for a service, right? She's not a prostitute, I hope. You know, she's not some little chica that you want as a one night stand, I hope. I mean, you're inviting her into the laboratory of pleasure, my guys. The biggest barrier to this is not a lack of ideas. I mean, come on. The Kama Sutra has been around for hundreds of years, right? It's sexual shame, not lack of ideas. I mean, we all carry vanilla flavored shame from our upbringing, right? I mean, or past bad partners. I mean, maybe they tried to get you to do something, or maybe you tried to get them to do something that you weren't ready for, right? And it turns into sexual inhibition, right? But there's been research into this, right? And research into some of these sexual inhibition and excitement scales, they confirm that shame acts as a massive inhibitor that can shut down desire entirely. It doesn't matter how good looking you are, right? She's going to shut down because she feels like she has to perform a certain way, right? Or hide her true desires, right? To avoid being judged. Like, open up, my dudes. Imminent femininity goes into hiding if you are pressuring her. An EM man is the shame slayer. By being grounded, unshockable, right? And radically honest yourself, you are creating a safe haven, right? For her inner weirdo, and you want her inner weirdo to come out. You want her inner freak to come out. I mean, relationship therapy literature, including the work of the Gottman Institute, which, let's be honest, they're like the gold standard here. They consistently find that couples who talk about their sex lives report much higher satisfaction levels, much higher. This isn't because they're doing anything crazy or wild, right? It's not crazier and wilder than anyone else, right? It's because the act of talking about it builds a level of vulnerability-based trust that makes the actual sex 10 times more intense. When you remove the shame, when you remove the break, you can become the man who can look her in the eye and handle her darkest fantasies without flinching, which is, quite frankly, the ultimate panty dropper. It is the ultimate panty dropper move, my guys. You're providing emotional leadership, and that allows her to surrender to her own desires, not to you. I mean, this isn't just about trying new positions, guys. It's about creating a psychic space where she feels so safe that she can finally lose control. Let her lose control because she is in a place of warmth, safety, and emotional regulation, not fear, not shame. That is the goal of the EM King, my guys, to be the anchor that allows her to be the storm. When you lead in communication, you aren't just talking. You are neuro-priming her for a level of intimacy she didn't even know was possible. All the little boys in her past, she's going to cry that she didn't meet you sooner. She is going to thank the heavens, though, that she now knows the difference, and she'll never take you for granted. Guys, let's have a come to Jesus moment here, or maybe a come to Netflix moment, right? About why your bedroom feels like it's being scripted by someone who hates you. It is. You aren't just a biological machine. You are a culturally programmed one. And most of your preferences, your desires, your anxieties that you carry around, they're not even yours. They're not even yours. They're just malware installed by a society that profits from your insecurity. I get passionate about this stuff, boys. Understanding this isn't just a liberal arts talk, that it's a sexual deprogramming is important here. I want you to realize that when the script is broken, you have got to stop blaming yourself, right? The script is broken. It's not your fault. It's the movies you watched, and you need to stop blaming her, right? Oh, she's not hitting the marks, right? She's not doing things that you wanted. Guys, modern sexuality is primarily shaped by a cocktail of influences that start with the media and the rom-com brain rot. I mean, rom-com, I like to watch these movies and laugh because it's a comedy. There ain't nothing romantic about it. We've been fed a diet of the spark, this idea, right, that you don't feel literal lightning during the first kiss, the connection must be dead. What? Oh my God. It's why so many guys give up on great women because they didn't hear a cinematic orchestra in their head. In reality, the spark is often two nervous systems vibrating in anxiety, not a soulmate connection. And then we've got pornography. And I talked about porn and how it ruins relationships before. And it's effectively turned the modern male brain into a high pressure car wash, right? It teaches you that sex is performance based, right? It's a performance based marathon where the woman is a 2D object with a start button. Uh-uh. If your idea of leading comes from a video with a stepbrother thumbnail, you aren't leading. You're just cosplaying an anatomical impossibility that leaves her feeling more like a prop than a partner. And we also have to deal with the ghosts of religious and cultural messaging. I mean, this is the purity trap, right? And quite frankly, the purity trap usually traps young women more than it does young men, right? You're told for 20 years that sex is a dark, dangerous sin that will ruin your life. You're told abstinence only is the only way to go. And then you're expected to flip and switch on your wedding night and become a legendary lover. Yeah, thanks, church. Thanks, Pope Leo, or whoever the Pope is. Thanks, evangelical dude. Thanks, parent. It doesn't work that way. That shame button stays stuck in the on position. That's all it does. And it causes guys to either over sexualize to prove they aren't repressed, right? Or under sexualize because they're terrified of being creepy. You add this to attachment conditioning. My God, the way your parents loved or ignored you. And you get the daddy issues trope that everyone laughs about, but nobody understands. If she was raised by a man who was only warm when she achieved something, she's going to view your sexual desire as a performance review because that's exactly what happened when she was growing up. Everything was based off some type of achievement. If you don't see that conditioning, you'll take her cold energy as a rejection of you rather than a reaction to her own history. I mean, and finally, we have the Amazonification of dating apps. I mean, we are the first generations of humans who shop for partners like we're looking for a discounted air fryer. And I mean, this creates a culture of disposability. The moment there's a glitch in the sexual chemistry, our conditioning tells us to return to sender, right? Swipe for a new model. I mean, this app anxiety makes everyone hyper vigilant and it kills the very safety required for imminent femininity to bloom. An ethically masculine man looks at all the noise and says, I see the script and I'm burning it. By understanding that her breaks or your performance anxiety are often just cultural residue, you remove the blame. You increase the empathy. And most importantly, you reclaim the bedroom as a private sanctuary where only you and her are creating those rules together. Here's the truth. Great sex in relationships isn't about tricks. It's about safety. It's about polarity, curiosity, and the emotional leadership needed for safety. Ethical masculinity creates the environment. Eminent femininity brings the energy. Together, that's intimacy. If you want to build that kind of relationship, the Ethical Masculinity Manual is waiting at plantthespark.com. Ladies, the Eminent Femininity Manual is also there. Subscribe to Plant the Spark. Share this with someone who thinks attraction is just physical because they've been brainwashed by rom-coms or the red pill. I'm Mike. This is Plant the Spark. Guys, it's time to make things spicy.